In 1940, Salvador Dalí painted a face, a decaying skull floating in a desert wasteland, eyes hollow, mouth screaming. But if you look into the eyes, you see more skulls, screaming, and inside those skulls, more skulls, and inside those, more, infinite, endless, repeating forever. This is the face of war. Dalí painted it while watching Europe tear itself apart. World War II, millions dead, cities burning, humanity devouring itself. And he captured it all in one image. A face that contains infinite death, a scream that never ends, a nightmare that repeats forever. Once you look into those eyes, you can't escape. This is the painting that shows what war really looks like. Not heroism, not glory, just death eating itself forever.
Let's look at this painting. Really look at it. A massive skull, brownish gray, decaying, floating in an empty desert landscape. The face is in agony, mouth wide open, screaming, but no sound comes out. The eyes are empty sockets, black voids, but they're not empty. They're filled with more death. And surrounding the skull, writhing serpents, snakes coiling around the edges, death surrounded by more death. The background is desolate, barren, a wasteland of sand and shadow. Nothing lives here. Nothing can. This is the aftermath. This is what's left after war destroys everything. Just screaming, just death, just emptiness. Look at the background. It's not neutral. It's not just empty space. This is a landscape that's been destroyed, scorched. The ground is cracked, lifeless. In the distance, you can barely make out shadows, shapes. Maybe rocks, maybe ruins, maybe bodies. Dalí is showing us the world war creates. Not battlefields, not heroism, just nothing. A world where everything has been consumed, and all that's left is this face, screaming into the void. And these serpents, coiling around the skull like a frame. In classical symbolism, serpents represent evil, temptation, corruption. But here, they're also scavengers, feeding on the corpse, writhing through empty eye sockets, through the mouth. They're not just decoration, they're participants. War doesn't just kill, it corrupts everything it touches. Even death itself becomes contaminated. Now look closer at the eyes. Inside each eye socket, another skull, screaming. And inside that skull's eyes, more skulls. This is the genius of Dalí. The horror isn't just death, it's the infinity of it. War doesn't kill once, it kills forever. It kills the victims, then it kills the memory, then it kills the hope that it will ever end. This recursion, this endless loop, this is trauma, this is PTSD, this is the scream that never stops echoing.
To understand this painting, you need to understand what Dalí lived through. His homeland, Spain, erupts into civil war. Fascists against Republicans, neighbor against neighbor. Dalí watched cities bombed, saw Guernica destroyed, Picasso's hometown turned to rubble in one afternoon. He saw friends executed, artists murdered, his country consumed by ideology and violence. And he knew this wasn't just Spain. This was the future. The entire world was next. His friend and rival, Picasso, painted Guernica, cubist chaos, fragmented bodies, a horse screaming, a mother holding her dead child. That was Picasso's war. Fractured, abstract, political. But Dalí? Dalí saw something else, something worse. He saw the face, the single eternal face of death, and he saw it looking back at him. Then, 1939, Hitler invades Poland. World War II begins. The Spanish Civil War wasn't a warning. It was a rehearsal. Now the entire continent was burning. Blitzkrieg, bombing campaigns, millions mobilized for slaughter. Dalí fled. He had to. He and his wife Gala escaped to the United States, to California. Safe, but haunted. In California, far from the war, Dalí tried to work, but he couldn't escape it. The images haunted him. The faces of the dead, the cities in ruins, the screams. So he painted them. He had to. Get them out. Transfer them from his mind to canvas. And in 1940, he created the face of war. Not for money, not for fame, for survival. Because if he didn't paint the nightmare would consume him. This is Dalí at work, meticulous, obsessive, every detail planned. Surrealism wasn't abstract for him. It was hyper-real. The dreams were more real than reality. And the face of war is the most real thing he ever painted. Because war isn't metaphorical. It's literal. It's exactly this: a screaming skull, forever.
Before the war, Dalí painted dreams, the persistence of memory, melting clocks, soft landscapes, strange but beautiful, intriguing, safe. Surrealism was about the unconscious, about revealing the hidden logic of dreams. But war changed everything. Because war isn't a dream, it's a nightmare. And nightmares have a different logic. Nightmares repeat. They trap you. They won't let you wake up. And that's what the face of war is. Not a dream. A nightmare you can't escape. Actually, the face of war wasn't his first war painting. In 1936, 6 months before the Spanish Civil War began, Dalí painted this: soft construction with boiled beans, premonition of civil war. A grotesque figure, a body pulling itself apart, limbs twisting, flesh tearing, destroying itself from within. He saw it coming, the self-destruction, the cannibalism of civil war. But this was Spain's war, personal, internal. The face of war is different. This is universal. This is all war. Look at the mouth again. It's not just screaming. There's another skull inside, being eaten, consumed. This is the nature of war. It doesn't just kill enemies. It devours everyone. Soldiers, civilians, the innocent, the guilty. War is cannibalism. It feeds on humanity itself. And the skulls inside the skulls? That's generational trauma. The children of war inherit the screams, and their children inherit them forever. This isn't just 1940. This is 1914. This is Vietnam. This is Iraq. This is every war that ever was or will be. One face, infinite deaths. Dalí was drawing from an old tradition. Medieval Europe had the dance of death. Skeletons dancing with the living. Death taking everyone, rich and poor, young and old. A reminder, death is universal. Death is inevitable. But Dalí's face isn't dancing. It's not philosophical. It's screaming, trapped in agony. Because war isn't natural death. It's violent, premature, wrong. Let's break down this symbolism. Start with color. browns, grays, sickly yellows, the colors of decay, of ash, of corpses left in the sun. No blues, no greens, nothing alive, nothing growing. Dalí chose this palette deliberately. This is the color of the world after war, after everything has been burned, after life has been stripped away. Even the sky is dead. Here's something most people don't notice. If you look closely at the original, you can see fingerprints. Dalí's fingerprints, pressed into the wet paint. He didn't just paint this with a brush, he touched it, physically. His hands in the paint, in the face, in the death. This wasn't detached observation. This was visceral, personal. He couldn't keep his distance. The horror demanded physical contact. The eyes, or rather, the absence of eyes. In portraiture, eyes are everything, the soul, the connection, the humanity. But this face has no eyes, just holes, voids, filled with more death. You can't connect with this face. You can't find humanity in it because war erases humanity. It turns people into objects, into numbers, into skulls. And when you look into those empty sockets, nothing looks back. Just your own fear reflected infinitely.
After the war, Dalí became famous, a celebrity. The mustache, the eccentricity, the publicity stunts. He designed logos, worked in Hollywood, appeared on talk shows. People thought he was a showman, a joke, a sellout. But they forgot. He'd seen the face. He'd painted it, and you don't come back from that unchanged. The flamboyance? That was armor, a performance to keep the darkness at bay. After World War II, Dalí became obsessed with atomic physics, the bomb, nuclear fission. He'd painted death as infinite recursion in 1940. Now, in 1945, humanity had created it, a weapon that could multiply death infinitely. Literally. One bomb, Hiroshima, 70,000 dead instantly. More dying slowly. Radiation spreading, generations poisoned. The face of war had evolved. Now it had nuclear fire. But the scream, still the same. Today, the face of war hangs in Rotterdam, Museum Boismans van Beuningen. Visitors walk by, stop, stare. Some only for a few seconds. They can't take more. Because the painting hasn't lost its power. The scream is still fresh. The horror still immediate. Wars have come and gone since 1940. Korea, Vietnam, Rwanda, Iraq, Syria, Ukraine. Different wars, different names, different technologies. Same face. Dalí painted this face in 1940, but it could have been painted yesterday. Because war doesn't evolve. Technology changes, tactics change, names change. But the face, the screaming skull, the infinite deaths, always the same. That's what makes this painting timeless, and that's what makes it unbearable.
So, what is the face of war? It's not propaganda. Dalí wasn't making a political statement. He wasn't taking sides. He was showing truth, the only truth about war that matters. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. This is what it does to the human soul. It takes faces and turns them into skulls. It takes screams and makes them infinite. It takes death and makes it repeat forever. No heroes, no glory, no meaning.
Just this. Just the face. Look one more time into these eyes. Skull within skull within skull. Death, eating death, eating death. This isn't just bodies on a battlefield. This is what war leaves behind. The soldier who comes home and can't sleep. The child who grows up without a father. The mother who buries her son. The cities that never rebuild. The trust that never returns. War doesn't end when the shooting stops. It echoes forever. Through families, through generations, through history. The skull is infinite because the trauma is infinite. That's what Dalí understood. That's what he painted. Salvador Dalí died in 1989, age 84. He lived through 2 world wars, the Spanish Civil War, the Cold War, the nuclear age. He painted melting clocks, elephants on spider legs, Christ crucified in hypercubes. But the face of war might be his most important work because it's the most honest. No surrealist tricks, no intellectual puzzles, just horror, pure, undiluted, true. Dalí once said, "The difference between me and a madman is that I am not mad." But maybe the difference between him and everyone else is that he was willing to look at the madness and paint it so we couldn't look away.